Moving into our third speaker for this session and our final one before our Q&A. And I'd like to introduce you to yourselves, Sabrina Moore. Sabrina and I would know each other reasonably well at this point since we've both been involved in citizen science. And Sabrina is the program manager at the Environmental Education Unit of Antashka, and she works very closely with ourselves and many other parties to bring citizen science initiatives forwards in Ireland. She's been involved in GLOBE, which is basically a citizen science program that allows our young people in our schools to investigate aspects of their local environment. A lot of that has been around air pollution. But she's here today to talk to us about Clean Air Together, a project that she's been working on for the last couple of years. And you've heard of CAT Cork, and you've heard of CAT Dublin, you've heard of CAT Galway this morning already. So I'll hand over the floor to Sabrina to fill you in on what Clean Air Together is all about. Sabrina.
Good morning, everyone. Is that me? No? Okay, good morning, everyone, and good morning to everyone online as well. So I'm going to tell you about Clean Air Together, also known as CAT, and how I suppose we communicated and performed 3 critical steps for that project. So Clean Air Together is a citizen science project. Its main purpose is to get measurements done by citizens just outside their door for a month. So we did that for last year in Dublin and this year in Cork. And really the purpose is twofold. First of all, in terms of our research questions, the first question is, can measurements by citizens really inform our air quality models that Kevin told you about? Can they contribute useful information to scientists, air quality specialists? And the second question is, does participation in such a project can have an impact on your awareness and engagement around the topic of clean air? So I'm going to tell you about 3 moments in the project. And our first key moment was, of course, recruiting people to take part. So I'm going to take the example of Dublin for that. So I suppose when you do citizen science, you have a social side that needs to be very strong, and really you want a large number of people, a wide range of people, to feel excited to commit to, in this case, measuring air pollution for a month. So you want to, I suppose, create excitement from their end and continuous engagement. But you need to balance that with your scientific objectives as well. And clearly from an air pollution mapping exercise, you want to have a good spread across the city, and you also want to have balance between areas that would be exposed to traffic and those that are less exposed. So in terms of, I guess, recruiting people, our key strategy was to use social media, and more particularly the EPA social media channels. And it's really about an open call. You put the call out there. And the key messages were around, this is for everyone. This is very simple to do, and it's completely free to take part. And I suppose the benefit from your end is that you're going to find out what NO2 levels are outside of your home, and information that no one else would have. We also used other levers that we knew would motivate people, and this is goodwill, and the idea that you would be helping scientists in taking part as well. So, we ran a social media campaign, and throughout the campaign, which lasted for 3 weeks, we could see where the sign-ups were happening, and we could see that there were differences depending on the areas of Dublin, but we needed, like, from a scientific perspective, as many areas covered as possible, and from a social perspective, to mobilize people in different areas. So we had posts that were retargeting some areas. So in terms of the recruitment, you can see, you can ignore the different colors, but all the dots on the map correspond to people who signed up to Clean Air Together. I suppose the open call worked really well in that respect. We got 2,200 people who applied, and we were actually short on citizen science facts by 1,000. So we used our scientific criteria to pinpoint the optimal locations. So that being said, using social media and an open call is very effective and cost-effective at recruiting people to take part in such projects, but there are limitations as well. And when we profiled the people who had signed up, we could see that there was a bias, and that bias is towards higher levels of education. So even though we had communicated around the project being very simple and for everyone, people probably self-selected, and people with a third-level degree or higher were very represented in the sample, really like an outlier to the general population. Also, in some of the least affluent areas, we had less participants. So I suppose the engagement phase follows on, people have signed up, and there is quite a long period for such a project to run between the time that you have your call out, people are told they can participate, they get their pack, and then they actively install a tube, a passive sampler outside of their door, and they leave it for a month, they contribute some important data to us, and a month later they get their tube, take it down and post it. This may seem very simple, and it is, but people have busy lives, and it's easy to just forget what you're doing, forget about that tube that is very small on your window, and not complete, I suppose. Not completing those steps mean that we're missing out on an important measurement, localized measurement. So I suppose the way we approached it was, of course, to be in regular communication with participants and sharing reminders and simple videos to show them how to take the different steps. But we also took the opportunity of the fact that they were, taking action to share important information with them. They were always bite-sized information, very simple infographics, showing why, what they were doing was important, why did NO2 matter, and how we could take steps. I also took a screenshot of a video of Dermot Burke, who's in this room, who filmed the inside of an air monitoring station, really a post that was really popular. And people are interested, they want to see inside the black box. And he allowed for that and also reminded people to send their tube back, which was really helpful. But the engagement was two ways as well, and I suppose working with the EPA communications team, we made sure that there was, people were sharing their stories on social media, and this was particularly nice at the time of the tube installment and retrieving of the tube. So you see those nice posts with, I suppose, people taking pride in taking action, and the posts were very much conveying this. We also tried other approaches, and we asked a few questions. So we had surveys and systematic surveys of people who signed up, but we also wanted some stories around their experiences. And we asked a question, why are you taking part? And 40 stories came back to us. So I'm just going to read you 3, just to show you the breadth of people's experience, I guess. So the first one says, I'm old enough to remember what it was like to breathe the air before the ban on smoky fuel and the days prior to the catalytic converters. So I have witnessed a vast improvement in air quality. A second story. Whenever we open the window to air the bedroom, there is a black film of soot on the length of the windowsill inside the apartment. It is very worrying, as how much of that is being ingested into our lungs. And the third story. We think being citizen scientists is the best way to get the family fully involved in what is happening to us locally and globally. Clean air together is literally what is happening on your doorstep. So we reposted those on social media. So going to the last phase, I suppose, or last critical phase of the project, it's sharing of the results. And it's a very important moment. We get a lot of interest. because we get that localized information, and also there's a bit of a buzz around unveiling results. But really our challenge was to make sure that we were not forgetting our participants. Really, people had made this possible. So I suppose what we did was to make sure we were communicating with them first. And actually, we communicated with anyone who had signed up first. So we shared a personalized email that showed a map of the area where they lived and any measurement that was available in that area, close by. And anyone who had signed up received that alongside explanation of what that measurement or those measurements meant, any action that could be taken. Then a couple of days later, we had a webinar whereby we invited participants and people who signed up primarily, and we unveiled the results for the whole city of Dublin. And I suppose the format was short and snappy presentations, and then plenty of time for questions, and there were loads of questions. And the key message there was very much thank you, and without you, it wouldn't have been possible. And only then did we, I suppose, release a press release, and then the story was picked up by the media and on social media, which was very important too, of course. So to give you a flavor, I suppose, of our communication approach and the key messages, we're going to play a short video on the results.
In October 2021, 1,000 people in Dublin measured nitrogen dioxide levels in their area as part of a citizen science project called Clean Air Together. Nitrogen dioxide, or NO2, is an air pollutant that mainly comes from traffic. NO2 has negative impacts on everyone's health, and it is worse for children and people with pre-existing conditions like asthma. And some people are more exposed to higher levels of NO2 just because of where they live or work. Many residents of Dublin heard about the Clean Air Together project. They applied to find out what NO2 levels were like near them. Once selected, participants installed a measurement tube outside their property for 4 weeks. Clean Air Together gives us a snapshot of what NO2 pollution was like in Dublin in October 2021. The highest NO2 levels were found in Dublin city centre, near busy roads and the M50. By contrast, areas away from traffic, particularly the outer suburbs, Greater Dublin or parks, registered much lower levels of NO2. Most of the participants were interested to see lower NO2 levels outside their properties. Participants learned that their driving routine was affecting people living along busy roads. So they, like us, now have an opportunity to make some changes. Think twice before taking the car, shop more locally, get back on the bike, and take public transport at every opportunity. These are small steps, but together, our actions have a big impact. The good news is that sustainable mobility is becoming easier. More and safer cycleways and footpaths, the development of cleaner public transport, and so much more is being planned by the authorities to reduce air pollutants. By supporting and adopting these changes, the goal is to reduce NO2 pollution over time in all areas of Dublin. The lower the level of NO2, the better it is for everyone's health. To see what the NO2 levels were across Dublin, as measured as part of Clean Air Together, visit cleanairtogether.ie. Thank you to everyone who participated in Clean Air Together. It couldn't have been done without you.
A short video packed with information. I suppose you heard about the next steps already. We're collecting tubes from Cork. They're being analysed by an expert lab, which is called GRADCO in the UK. And early next year, we'll be sharing the results for Cork with participants and the wider public, and then we'll move on to Galway City. So that's it from me. Thank you.